were traveling all the way from Suhum, and because there were no fuel there, we have to struggle before we get something small. And it's of course serious, and of this modern Ghana, how can we suffer? Because petrol is being hoarded for an increment.
The Ghana Police Service has established some filling stations here in Accra are hoarding fuel in the wake of the shortage, which has created confusion and discomfort to a number of people, including parliamentarians who were absent in the House today because most of them were on frantic search for fuel. And this is today's big story. My name is Prince Mika and welcome to the program. Well, taxis, motorbikes and gallons have been in line, long queues at various filling stations this week since the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distribution Companies warned of a looming fuel crisis if government did not pay them over 1 billion Ghana cedis in arrears. Government has disputed the amount and insisted the debt was 304 million Ghana cedis. Well, the President, John Dramani Mahama, has directed the Finance Minister, Seth Tekpe, to release $60 million to the distribution companies. And the Finance Ministry says it is working on that. But many road users we spoke to earlier on say they are frustrated.
We were traveling all the way from Suhum, and because there were no fuel there, we have to struggle before we get something small. And it's of course serious, and of this modern Ghana, how can we suffer? Because petrol is being hoarded for an increment. I can't understand, my brother, and it's serious.
Okay. The government has to deploy the security men, I mean the police and the soldiers, to filling stations to go down the dumping ground to check whether there is actual shortage or not. It might look very tough, but in the end the truth will just come out.
This government has become notorious for, he has gained notoriety for giving promises upon promises. So I don't think it is going to end now. If it is going to end, unless the monies are paid. Otherwise, I'm not sure the fuel shortage is going to end.
The government lose focus. You don't know what he's doing. He should step down and leave the chair to somebody to come and take the country forward. Because no fuel, no anything. They have the fuel, but they said the government to increase the fuel, so they just hoard it. So if the government reduce the price, then today sell the fuel.
Point is, subsidy or no subsidy, just pay the guys. If you want to increase it, because we heard they want to increase it and let's buy it. Though first I buy maybe 5 gallons, now I'll choose to buy 3, okay, and then know when and how to move my car. That's all. Just bring it to the market and let's buy it. If it's expensive, fine, we'll try and buy it. You see the point? But not getting it at all is very frustrating. This morning I was late because I had to go chasing fuel before I go, and look, I'm moving off because I have to go and move petrol. I've left everything I have to do.
Where are you going with these gallons?
We are searching for petrol. Since 3 days, there's no petrol around. So we have gone everywhere, castle everywhere, there's no petrol. We have worked since, but in this week there's no petrol, so we have to walk around.
How many filling stations have you been?
5.
5 filling stations?
Yeah. We're almost 18. From airport, Kasua going, Barima Junction, there's no petrol.
We are suffering no petrol, and now they are increasing money too much. So, yes.
The citizens, there's no anybody. Some of them does not have money, So we have to talk with the government.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are. Well, it's obvious the question on the lips of many is exactly what is currently being done to deal with the situation. Well, we're picking information that in Kumasi, the bust is not working because strategic reserves of fuel got finished somewhere in September. We'll get to hit to the phone lines shortly, and we'll let you know what's happening in the Ashanti regional capital as a number of road users move from one filling station to the other in search of fuel. And just as I mentioned to you, a number of parliamentarians were not in the House today because they were on a frantic search for fuel. But what exactly is being done to deal with the situation? There's been a series of meetings today aimed at finding a lasting solution or ensuring that there's fuel. And we'll hit the phone line shortly. I will speak to the executive director of the oil marketing companies, Kwekwa Ajima Menu, and he will tell us exactly what's been done as far as that is concerned. And subsidy, of course, you heard some of the people that we spoke to a while ago. Is that a way to go? And we'll also be speaking to the executive director of the Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors, Senor Horsey, would also tell us a bit more about the various meetings they've been holding in as much as we try to find solutions and ending this series of fuel shortage that has hit the country is concerned. So we're also picking information that government has issued a press statement. Is it indicative of the fact that we're going to see a situation where fuel will go to the various pump stations and we'll get fuel? Is that what we're going to see in the coming days? Stay tuned. This is still today's big story. Well, this is still today's big story here on Joy News on Multi TV. Let's get a sense of the situation as far as the fuel shortage is concerned across the length and breadth of the country. We will go to the northern region, obviously, to other parts of the country. Hashmin Mohammed is our northern regional correspondent, and also Nuruddin Mohammed is in the Ashanti region for us. Let me start with the northern region. Hashmin, good evening to you. What's the situation currently in the northern region?
Well, long queues are still seen across the board, all the fuel stations in Accra. What we understand is that even though they have a fuel, even though some filling stations still have quantities of fuel to supply to residents, but the demand outweighs, the demand is very, very high. And it has created some kind of black market in the system, where some pump attendants at the various stations themselves will early in the morning will buy the fuel and then add additional value cost to the price of the fuel and then sell it to residents. And the fact that a lot of people see fuel as a very, very important commodity, they are buying it and people are cashing in.
Well, Hashimin, let me also get a sense of this situation. In the national capital, Accra, the Greater Accra Regional Police Command had to go around the various filling stations to deal with suspicion that some of the filling station owners were hoarding fuel. Is that a situation there in the north?
Well, in northern region here, the situation is still the same. But, you know, there are certain fuel stations that are highly patronized. And most of these highly patronized filling stations, they have ranched stock of fuel. So where you can only get fuel is at places that are not highly patronized. And they are the filling stations that have fuel. And you need to move outskirts of town. But if you do not want to move at the outskirts of the Tamale Central, then that means that you have to prepare and then join long queues to be able to. I've seen instances where people moved their cars and then along the line, they have to stop in the middle of the road to borrow a gallon, what is also known as 4 gallons, to go and buy fuel and come and fill their tank to continue their journey.
Well, the sense that we got when we engaged a number of people early on today here in Accra was that, look, this has affected productivity. A number of people could not go to work early because they had to join long, winding queues or in the search of fuel. Is that a sense you get when you speak to a number of road users in the northern region as well?
Well, the situation is not all that bad as compared to the regional capital because in some of these less patronized fuel stations, people are getting fuel, even though it is having some kind of effect in so long as the time that they would have maybe report to work is concerned. But I think that the situation is not all that bad in the region as compared to the national capital.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Hashmin Mohammed. He's our Northern Regional Correspondent. Let's go to the other line, speak to DSP Freeman Tete. He's the Public Relations Officer of the Greater Accra Regional Police Command. And here's why we're talking to him. Earlier on today, the police were at the various filling stations, and they were dealing with that suspicion that some of the filling station owners were hoarding fuel. Thank you very much, DSP, for joining us on today's big story.
Thank you.
So, have you made any arrests?
No, we've not made any arrests, but we'll be arresting in subsequent visits.
Now, which places have you been to? How many filling stations, and what did you find out?
I've actually been to a lot of filling stations. Actually, the regional command has tasked the various district commanders to conduct surprise checks. So they are also doing it alongside with a task force constituted by the National Petroleum Authority and the Regional Police Command. So we are making whistle stops at some selected stations across the city of Accra. So we've been to Teshi municipality, specifically Triblau area, then three places around Labadi. We've also been to Kanishi areas, Adenta, among others. So at least the team has 7 components. So that is what we have, the regional command has decided to do, alongside with what the various district commanders are doing within their jurisdiction. So this is just a warning to the public. And yesterday we uncovered that a lot of filling stations were holding fuel in anticipation of increase in price of petroleum products. So that has informed both the regional command and the National Petroleum Authority to intensify its surprise visit. So fortunately today, nothing of that sort was discovered. So we believe that they've adhered to our warnings and advice as a police, because hoarding is actually an offense. And what we've also discovered is that even for today, we realized that a lot of people are buying gallons for various reasons. But one striking thing is that most of these young men have taken advantage of the situation to buy and sell at exorbitant prices. And as a police institution or the lead internal security agency or law enforcement agency, we have to clamp down on such people. So we need evidence, and we are working hard to get some of these young men and prosecute them.
But why DSP? Does it appear this is the first time you're embarking on such operation? Because this is not the first time such suspicions have been raised before. Anytime there are indications that there's going to be fuel price increment, these suspicions do arrive. Why does it appear that you're taking this particular operation that serious, and you'd want to deal with those who are hoarding fuel this time around?
We've not done in the past. We are now doing it. So whether we've not done, we've reneged on that responsibility. It's not an issue now, because what is important is that currently we are embarking on an exercise to ensure that people stay in line. If you have product, you have to sell it, because that is what the law says. Hoarding is a crime. And then aside of that, you cannot buy petroleum products and resell. But apart from kerosene, we've been told by the National Petroleum Authority, and the NPA Act has indicated that you cannot resell any petroleum products from the filling station, apart from kerosene that can be sold.
And I know you're working closely with the National Petroleum Authority, and based on their advice, you're going to act on them. Tell us a bit more about their input to this operation that you're embarking on.
Actually, they are giving us technical support, because that is an area that they have specialized. That is their job. So most often, when you are dealing with technocrats or specialized agencies. You let them take the lead. You give them the support. We will be looking at the criminal aspect of it. So we have to rely on them for more information to enable us grab those who are deviant. So they are making enormous contribution into our operation.
But what difference is it likely to make? Because, again, I go back to that same point that it looks like you're now getting serious with this kind of suspicion. And now that your attention is being drawn to it, exactly what difference is it going to make? Are we likely to see a situation you would avert it in the future?
I'm not too clear about the question you are asking, but the fact still remains that we are looking for infraction of the law, or we are looking out for lawbreakers. We will be advising them, we'll be cautioning them to put a stop to it. But at the point in time, we have to step in and grab those people and make sure that they face with full rigors of the law.
And so you're not going to make any arrest?
Obviously, we have to make an arrest when we get them. Yesterday, it was an advice that was offered them, but today we went with the intention of arresting all those who might have, in one way or the other, infringed on this particular provision.
But you didn't get any today? You didn't get to arrest anyone today?
We couldn't get anybody to arrest. So what we intend doing is to have more of undercover people on the ground. That is the plainclothes policemen on the ground to ensure that law enforcement is about deterrent and also punishment. So if we are able to deter people, fair enough.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, DSP Freeman Tete, for talking to us on today's big story. He's the Greater Accra Regional Police PRO. Let's still gauge the atmosphere across the length and breadth of the country as Ghana is hit by fuel shortage. And of course, this is causing distress and discomfort to a number of road users, just as you saw there earlier on. Nuruddin Mohammed is our Ashanti regional correspondent, and he joins us on the line. Nuruddin, what's the situation currently in the Ashanti region?
The situation is the same. There have been long queues in the Ashanti region. Some of the fuel stations that I have visited, they have been long queues, and some of them are also saying they have no fuel for drivers or vehicle owners. But my checks indicate that some of the fueling stations are holding the fuel because they know there will be an increment in price very soon.
But here in the national capital, Accra, the police is taking some action. They've been to some of the filling stations to ensure that, look, those that are holding fuel are dealt with. They've cautioned them. They are likely to arrest them from tomorrow onwards. Is that what you get from your checks in Kumasi?
Not at all, Prince. We haven't heard of anything like that yet. We don't know what the police will be saying later today, but we have not heard anything like that from the police.
Quite apart from that, we're also picking reports from Kumasi that the bust is not working. What they call their strategic reserves is not working because they've not got enough fuel as of September up till now. What more can you tell us about that one?
Like I said earlier, Prince, when you go around, you realize that most of the filling stations are saying they have low fuel, but a few that we saw, one that is located at Kumasi Sports Stadium, where most of these vehicles were in a queue, struggling to get their fuel. We realized there were a lot of vehicles there, that particular place. But for the rest, they are saying they have no fuel at all. They have no fuel to sell to vehicle owners and drivers. And but like I said, we have been checking to find out whether is it true that they have no fuel. But we find out that some of them have it, but they are hoarding it for future sale.
Very well. Thank you very much, Nuruddin Mohammed. He's our Ashanti regional correspondent, and of course, he'll keep monitoring the situation there. We'll get you informed as and when we go on. But when are we getting fuel? At least that's the question a number of Ghanaians are asking. When are we going to see an end to the situation where you go to the filling station, you feel distressed about it. There's so much discomfort across the length and breadth of the country. Parliamentarians A lot of them were not in a house today. Why? Because they were on a frantic search for fuel, just like you and I. Joining us on the phone lines is the Obuasi West MP, Kwaku Kwating. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Well, a number of your colleagues were not in a house today because they had no fuel. You couldn't form a quorum. As we all know, Parliament quorum is pegged at 95 MPs. Nobody raised concern about it. Why was it so, sir?
Well, I wasn't in the house today because I was unwell. I got there sometime before 1 p.m. and Parliament had been adjourned. So I'm not in a position to really answer that question, except to make the general point that when fuel is difficult to come by, you expect that members might have difficulty getting to the chamber. And therefore, it is in our collective interest that we find a solution to what is beginning to be perhaps the biggest obstacle to our development, energy.
Okay. Now, here's what we're hearing. Governor has issued a statement. I'll read that shortly. But this is what we know already. The BDCs are asking that their debt be paid. We also know that government is raising suspicion that some filling stations are hoarding fuel. We also know today that the police have been going around to check on this. Really, going forward, are we going to see an end to this?
We should see an end to this. We are here because of what I would say without hesitation, the mismanagement of petroleum downstream. Government in both 2013 and 2014 spelled out a clear policy on subsidies and said broadly all subsidies will be removed, and with the introduction of this 14-day review of petroleum prices. In those specific instances, I assume in cases such as premix, where government for specific reasons decides to maintain some level of subsidy, there is a budget line for it. In 2014, government requested Parliament to allocate money for, and this was done. So I just do not understand why government would turn around and say we should subsidy. That is a policy. That is a running policy. It's a mismanagement of the petroleum downstream sector. Government ought to be telling us in clearer terms what is it government is owing for producers and importers. Government should tell us clearly, is it the subsidy? If it is, then what we're asking government is the authorization it got from Parliament to pay for that subsidy. What has happened to the money? Government must explain that. If, on the other hand, it is not government that they intend to use that money for something else, and that they are no more in a position to subsidize, they should announce that policy clearly, let it reflect in pricing, so that the BDCs can have their money for the operations. But as it stands, where government appears officially to maintain a certain level of subsidy, it has come to Parliament and gotten authorization to finance, and your government is telling us that it can't pay the subsidy. It's just a mismanagement of petroleum downstream, and I think that what we are beginning to see in the energy sector is emerging as the biggest obstacle to our development. Not only is it happening in power, we're having dumso there, now it's happening in petroleum downstream as well. If we can't have energy, we should forget about development.
And so going forward, I mean, for those who say, look, let's not focus on subsidies, let's try and find an alternative in ensuring that we have enough fuel. For you, what will be your direct response to them?
Of course, we need to have a solution. I don't believe that the problem we're having now have anything to do with the government subsidy policy. Government policy on subsidy is that we're removing it completely, except for in limited cases and for very strategic short-term reasons. Subsidy would be on certain commodities. Government has approval and Parliament has approval from Parliament. So I do not think subsidy is the matter. We ought to be finding out what is it that government is owing the bulk importers. Is it fuel government has bought and cannot pay? Is it those liabilities that is going through up to the importers? we ought to get to the bottom of what the liabilities really are and why our producers our bulk importers are not able to import and supply. I think there should be an investigation. That I don't think it is subsidy.
Very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Honorable Kwaku Kwarteng, for talking to us here on today's big story. And let me just announce to you that a statement has been issued by government. As and when we get that statement, we'll let you know. And obviously, we'll put that on the air for you. And we're also trying to get on the lines authorities from the oil marketing company and, of course, the bulk distributors as well. But it looks as though they've been in a series of meetings, and the outcome of the meeting somehow looks positive. But as to what really panned out in the meeting, as and when we get the information, we certainly will let you know. But that certainly will be it for this segment, though. And coming up shortly, though, is Marian Ture with Joy News Interactive. Stay tuned.